Hey everyone, how's it going? So on Monday, I made a video talking about what it entails to kind of be considered a genius in society. And I referenced this book, Leonardo Da Vinci, by Walter Isaacson. It's a really great biography of Leonardo da Vinci's life. And this week, I wanted to make a video more about Leonardo da Vinci as a person. Fun fact about Leonardo da Vinci, just to get you captivated. Da Vinci is a town in Italy. And Leonardo was, it's just his first name. Many people think Da Vinci was his last name, but no, it's not. It just means from Vinci in Italian. How can we learn from Leonardo da Vinci? And I mentioned this in the last video. I think a lot of it can be attributed to curiosity. And that is just being innately curious, as a child would be, about how the world works. He never solidified his ideas of reality, of the world, of how things worked. Even when he was a grown, aged man, he was still asking such questions as, why is the sky blue? I think this is a great quality that all of us can kind of conjure up in ourselves and strengthen. It's just being curious about things and being open to changing ideas and philosophies. And riffing off of Walter Isaacson's book a little bit, I'm going to read to you a little passage. Be curious. Be relentlessly curious. I have no special talents, Einstein once wrote to a friend. I'm just passionately curious. Leonardo actually did have special talents, as did Einstein, but his distinguishing and most inspiring trait was his intense curiosity. Great thing to learn from Leonardo da Vinci, Einstein, all these people we look up to. Seek knowledge for its own sake. It's a great thing I took away from this book, and Leonardo embodied that philosophy. He searched for answers a lot, but those questions weren't always practical. Keep a childlike sense of wonder. Isaacson said something like, as most of us grow old, we quit puzzling over everyday phenomena. And I think it's very important. This is a very important rule. It's like, we don't understand everything about the world, and recognizing that we don't understand everything about the world and continually reminding ourselves of that keeps us humble as humans, and two, keeps us curious about the world. Because if we think we know the answers, or at least we feel like we know the answers to everything, then, what's the point to go and search out and try to make new discoveries about things? So another Leonardo trait that I think we could all take value from. Observation. I think this was a huge part of who Leonardo was. He was very observant. He really just looked at the world with a different kind of lens than everyone else. Procrastination was a huge part of Leonardo da Vinci's life. I love this book because there are all these different tangential stories about individual paintings. And when painting the Last Supper, it was in this church, and there's all this recorded documentation of when Leonardo was working on the Last Supper and how long it took. It took him a really long time. And it was recorded from some of his patrons that were paying him a salary to complete the Last Supper, that some days he would just walk into the church, look at the painting for an hour, stare at it, make one brush stroke, and then leave for the day. And this is ultimate procrastination, right? Because you think, as Leonardo, I have a commission. I must finish this as soon as possible to make my client happy, to make my patron happy. But this wasn't the case, because creative ideas take a long time. Creative ideas, or I wouldn't say long time, I'd say as much time as it needs. I always try not to procrastinate at all on anything. I'm sure you're the same. I'm sure you don't. Early in school, you leave projects off to the last minute, and you hear procrastination. Don't procrastinate. Do your work as soon as possible, right? Ever since learning kind of that concept as a child, don't procrastinate, I always felt this pressure to get projects done. And here's where I'll take it kind of on a personal note, is I do a lot of creative video projects, and one side of me is saying, don't procrastinate, Bruce, finish this video as soon as possible. And the other side of me is thinking, well, hey, I feel like I need a little bit of time to think about this and figure out what it is I'm doing. Don't procrastinate, but also don't rush through something, and don't just try to finish it up before every deadline, because maybe that kind of project needs more time. I am a firm believer that you don't tell a creative idea how much time it's going to take, it tells you. And this is like why procrastination is not bad. And The Last Supper is regarded as like the world's most famous painting. It's like the most complex painting. It has all of these interesting characteristics with leading lines and angles that have never been done before. I think without procrastination, he wouldn't have been as good as he was. Not by nearly a fraction. Make things good as you can make them. And don't settle for merely okay. I'll read Isaacson's words here. He writes, "When Leonardo could not make the perspective in the Battle of Anghiari or the interaction in the Adoration of the Magi work perfectly, he abandoned them rather than produce a work that was merely good enough." Now, these are two paintings that, yes, Leonardo did remain unfinished. When he was procrastinating on The Last Supper, a lot of people did think, is Leonardo going to finish this painting, or is he just going to abandon it? And that's because he'd abandoned a lot of paintings in the past, such as the Battle of Anghiari or the Adoration of the Magi. There are some things in those paintings that he, as an artist, did not feel represented him perfectly. He wanted to make a work that was a Leonardo. He didn't just want to make a commission piece of work for Saint blank. And this is where the struggle occurs, because in society, of course, you have to do the work. But it's a balance between delivering whatever the product is and creating the work that you want to create. And most lines of work are kind of product-based like that. It's like delivering something, a service or a product. That's business. That's the modern world that we live in. But you can also think about Leonardo and how he kept hold of his own identity through the work he created. Whenever someone sees a painting, you can tell that it is a Leonardo da Vinci painting because of these principles that he lived by. And I think that's pretty powerful. And it's really inspiring to me to think that if I kind of stick to my guns, kind of stick to my methodologies, then I can succeed as myself. I think that it's a great point of inspiration for those who feel kind of trapped, who feel like, I really want to do this one thing, but people are telling me to do this other thing. The last biggest piece of learning that I got from this was that Leonardo was a collaborator in many respects. A lot of his paintings, historians speculate on which parts of the painting were done by Leonardo's hand or done by someone else's hand under Leonardo's direction. And other people contributed to this direction as well. Although Leonardo remained strong-willed about what piece of work would be considered a Leonardo, he had many collaborators. And I think this is a big thing that I struggle to accept, is that as a creator, I want to be in it by myself. I want to be the sole creator and the sole genius behind my own work. However, there's always collaboration. The human spirit is to collaborate with one another. And the human alone cannot get that far without creating. The last film I watched was Crazy Rich Asians, so I'll talk about that one. You can't make that kind of film alone. It takes thousands of people. And that is true with every facet of life. You can't do things alone. Collaboration is key to making sure that your whatever it is you want to do gets accomplished. Simple as that. Okay, everyone, that is it. Thank you so much. If you liked the video, please give it a like and hit the notification bell. I'm posting every Monday and Friday, so be sure to check me out twice a week. Thank you so much. Have a great day.